They call that Salisbury steak. It literally looks like a burger patty smothered in brown gravy.
I couldn't agree more. Oh yeah, that time has come once again. Here we go with another work story. Today's story is work stories. The food. Food. Food is often seen as one of the most fundamental things in the world, and can be heavenly at times, but there are times when food can just be atrocious. This is exactly what happened with being at the Y in Colorado. The whole cycle would begin the first week while I was there with my group from my campus. Beforehand, we had been told from people who had been there in previous years that the food was pretty mediocre and not really the best. Upon learning about this, I wasn't too thrilled, but wanted to give the Y a chance with the food and thought highly of them. Well, at the time I did. While there, we would be treated to some pretty average food the first couple days, such as pasta, brisket, hamburgers, and tacos. The breakfast itself was alright too for the most part and pretty unique. However, little did I know that this was in fact going to be a rotation for the entire summer while we were there. By the end of the first week, I started to notice that there was a higher frequency in getting pasta for some reason. Y'all might be thinking, well, it's probably normal to have pasta once or twice a week, but you would be sorely mistaken unless you've spent a week at the Y. They would end up having pasta 5 times a week. And if I remember correctly, we would have it Monday and Thursday for lunch, Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday for dinner. This is already a lot in terms of pasta. I also would notice that over time, that the quality of the pasta would also go down as well. Additionally to the pasta, we would also have garlic bread and breadsticks on the side too. The first few days it was fine, but after that, they pretty much started becoming hard as a rock, and sometimes they'll come out burnt as well. There would be a few times where I would bite into a breadstick only to realize that the thing was rock solid. By then, I was already ready to spend some of the money that I got from working at the Y downtown because the food was just not worth it at that point. The pasta, however, wouldn't be the only problem. Oh no, there were more problems. With the other food too, the Salisbury steak, aka the Salisbury steak, which I'll give it later on, would taste like garbage. The taco meat that we also would have, the taco shells, would also be mediocre, and the same could be said about the brisket too, which was just tasteless. The burgers themselves were okay, but sometimes weren't cooked all the way. And also, the bread itself would also be moldy sometimes too. The macaroni and cheese would also be a bit cheesy. The only thing that was remotely tasty from this place was just the fish, because at least it tasted somehow good, but then I found out later on that it was also would come from a Costco, so it wasn't really worth it. At this point, a lot of us were tired of this abomination of the place and were fed up with the food. It was made even worse that I happened to sneak into the kitchen one day to see a nice surprise awaiting me there. Yeah, they were gonna serve us 4 days old food. Whoa, 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 whoa! Yeah, at this point I definitely suspected something was up with the food, and my suspicions had been correct. They were intentionally repacking old food that had been out in the hot boxes to be reused for the next time we had the food, which was just disgusting. That day, me and my soon-to-be girlfriend would post in the GroupMe chat that we shared with a bunch of others from food service that we should probably consider eating out that very evening, which we ended up doing, which was a great idea. A lot of us ended up going to McDonald's that evening and had ourselves some burgers there, which I would take over the Y food any day. At this point, you may be wondering, well, what about the breakfast? You said it was good. Well, that was only for the first few days as well. I started to notice a trend of the same foods being put out on the line. Usually we would have a choice between waffles, French toast, and pancakes rolled up into jam. The waffles were fine, but they would often be a big sugary mess, and because they would come straight from packaging, and you know that's never good when that is the case. Cough cough, sugar rush. The French toast was just mediocre, and we often ended up with that for breakfast to make things worse. The pancake wrapped in jam would be a rarity, and whenever we would have it too, it was still kinda trash to be honest. I feel IHOP could make pancakes wrapped in jam 1,000 times better than the Y could. The other foods we had for breakfast would be bad if not worse. The eggs tasted like straight up sponges and seemed to look like they came straight from a sewage plant. The oatmeal was gross and looked like how the beans did at the Y. Also, speaking of the beans, they would cook them on the floor. Whoa, wait. Yeah, no joke, they actually cooked the beans on the floor. And this is something that I'm surprised did not get the Y shut down earlier. The gravy. Oh, the gravy. That thing was just so bad. With working in food service, we would be tasked with taking food out to the people, and often, most of the time, it would involve carrying hot trays of food out to the line. Most of the time, this would lead to steam burns just from putting food in, and this included the gravy. Yeah, it was that bad. Back to the issues of the food though. The issues continues with the biscuits, which were hard, the gross sausages, and not to mention the stale muffins. The fruit bar would also be kinda iffy too, mainly because it was pretty sus. There were cantaloupes, honeydew, and pineapples that they would often put on the line would be mediocre at best. However, remember when I mentioned that we kept food stored away to put back out onto the lines? Well, this included the cold line food, such as the fruits. There would be a few times we'd pull out the cantaloupe and there would be several days old and would have mold all over it. This in itself would be considered a red flag in my book. Moving on to the hard-boiled eggs. Let's just say I tried them a couple times and then never did again because I got mild food poisoning from just that. The granola would taste pretty weird and the yogurt that we'd put on lines too looked like it had seen better days. I honestly couldn't see myself trying out the yogurt with liquid spewing from it. And oh yeah, the desserts. Those weren't real. They were outright fake desserts. Pretty much the desserts we had were these small sliced cakes. I learned that these would start as frozen with no frosting, then the supposed chef in the kitchen, well, he wasn't really a chef at all. More on this in a different video. The chef would then apply frosting to the frozen cakes before depositing it out to the customers out on the food line. I did not find out about this until a certain sleuth figured that out. By now you may be wondering, how the heck has this place not been shut down yet? Well, that in itself is a mystery to me because it nearly did get shut down while I was there. On one of my days off in early June, I had been chatting with my soon-to-be girlfriend when she let out the fact that the health inspector visited the Y that very day. Upon the inspector arriving, the Y's kitchen pretty much transformed into something else. Pretty much the managers and higher-ups forced employees to state that with the food that we're bringing back to the line that it ends up being thrown away, which isn't remotely true at all. You see, while I was working there, whenever food was low on a specific tray in the line, we were asked to take it to the back, and in the back rooms, in the kitchen, we would pour out the leftovers from that tray into a new tray, which we would then take out back to the line as if there was nothing. Honestly, I don't know how the heck the Y got away with this because it just wasn't right. The inspector would find various things that I feel should have been enough to shut the place down, such as dishes stacked up high in the dish room, food being reused, and even the place just generally being a hot mess. There were probably a lot more violations that I could list off, but that would take all day. In fact, the only issue that the inspector called out was the fact that there was no hot water, which I feel was just a slap on the wrist in my opinion. Nothing about the dishes or about the atrocious work conditions were mentioned, just a stupid hot water issue. Right after that, the kitchen resumed its nature by lying outright to people that the place was a safe haven when that was not remotely true at all. After the incident, things would get better with the food. Well, slightly. They would try to implement more variety of things. This would mainly be in place for the dining hall that the employees would eat from. The other dining hall, which will have customers, which generally will have the gross food. In our neck of the woods though, they would bring in the frozen pizza, which would get tiring after a while. Then came the barbecues, which were pretty decent for the most part, at least, and one day, they would also serve chicken wings. Other than that, the food within the dining halls was just mainly trash. Still to this day, I'm still grossed out by the food that this monstrosity of a place served me and other people that were there. Even the sight of the Salisbury steak still brings me bad memories to this day. And that's it for this awesome amazing video. Thank you guys for doing this awesome video. Definitely took me a while to get it done, and definitely from now on there will be X-treme stories coming out every month from this point forward. Hopefully we'll get everyone out next month. Again, thank you guys for joining us on the stories. They took a lot to make these stories and quite a bit of work too. And as usual, I'll see you guys in our awesome video next time.